All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. I am with Susie and Crystal. This is our second in our series on really finding your vision and making your vision a reality. So today we're going to kind of dive into that a little bit more, and we are going to have a conversation with Crystal about just expanding that in the world of ADHD. And Crystal and I have some experience in there, so we're going to have Crystal bring her perspective on that. We're just going to kind of go forward. So I just want to do a quick introduction, Susie, if you just want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Susie. So yeah, we've done a few of these together now, but I am in the Chicagoland area and I'm a trauma recovery coach. I specialize in narcissistic abuse. And sorry, are you guys hearing a lot of feedback?
No.
Not really.
Okay.
I know it can be distracting, right? When we
Yeah, it's like 20 seconds delayed and I'm hearing it.
No.
So
No
I may need a
wonder.
minute.
Oh yeah, no worries. I was gonna say, you can find Susie on YouTube, right? Is it Susie Miller Wendell? Warren? Is that her?
Yes. Yep.
YouTube?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
And then mine is Crystal-Tees. So anyone who's looking on YouTube, you can find me there. And then Warren.
Yeah, and I am on. I'm Unlock the Day. So yeah, just want to say hi to everyone. Thank everyone, and we're going to work through the technical. Yeah, because Susie, I actually do hear the feedback on my side too. I'm not quite sure why.
It does happen.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's like it does it right when you want to talk to, right when we're
right.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
wasn't like this when we first.
These are real life challenges that happen in real time. When just like everybody experiences. Just like you can prepare all you want, and then it's really weird.
Susie, is that better?
Mm,
No. Okay, because I just edited my mic settings. I didn't know if you were getting feedback through me or not.
I'm hearing this. I feel like I'm hearing the same statements like 2 or 3 times over, and it's delayed. Like,
well, if it drives you nuts, I was gonna say, feel free to get out and come back in.
yeah, let me.
I know that's helped me before.
Sorry, you guys carry on, and I will be.
It's almost like trial and error.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we'll bring Susie back in and see if that makes a difference. So let me just do this and see if it makes a difference. But Crystal, you can still hear me, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we are good. So
you're loud and proud.
Loud and proud. Yeah, I actually really like this 5 o'clock platform. It seems to work for everybody. So thanks for being here. I think. Oh, somebody's in the private chat. So let's see what's going on.
Oh
no, it was just Susie saying that she's hearing all this feedback. Yeah. All right. So while we are live and while we have, and thank you for those who are watching us. I appreciate you all being here. Crystal, why don't we get started from your perspective and we can bring Susie and start talking about the slides when she comes back.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to say, I wrote a couple notes too, even because I knew you guys were going to talk first. And I was just thinking and taking myself through some of the steps of, I've done this like a handful of times in my life, right? Have you as well?
Yeah.
I'm like, we were talking last time. And before we even go into anything, I was like, I will say for anybody out there, even if they don't have a vision or they're like, I don't even know what I want to do, I just feel like that burning desire, right? Like you want to feel that way. You want to feel purposeful. I will tell you, as long as you figure out your why, and I know there's a lot of material out there. There's some book everybody's been reading, like Know Your Why. I don't know if you've read that, Warren.
I've seen it. I have not read it, but I have seen that.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Everybody's reading it and talking about it, but it's true because I feel like that's where I've had to come back to over and over is the why. And then all the other things will gradually come into place. But it is kind of a frustrating process sometimes until you get the why, because that's been the fire under my butt is my why. And I know for a lot of us with kids, it's, of course, looking at them and wanting to be not only a great example, but just be
Right.
like real in front of them. Like we're
Yep.
teaching them. And if we can't preach and teach them and we're doing it, then they won't say anything to your parent, but they'll be like, oh yeah, well, what are you doing to live out your dream or make your dream a reality? And they do. They're so smart. They know.
Yeah. And
They
I think
do.
they can see you struggle. I think they can see that frustration that you're doing something, but it's not necessarily what you really want to do. And you have that, you're going through the motions and you're going through every day, but they know you're not where you want to be. And I think they kind of feel a little handcuffed because they can't help you because they're not at that point, but they can see that. So that the why is very important.
Heck
For
yeah.
sure.
Yay.
Can you guys hear me okay now?
You
Oh,
sound
much
great.
better.
I
Yeah.
figured out what I did. I had gone onto YouTube while we were setting up, and I had YouTube. I could hear us on the YouTube live, and I
Oh,
could hear us on
okay.
here. So that's a
Perfect.
new learning, anyways. But yeah, I think that was really, really well said, Crystal. And I think today, we're talking about, making your vision a reality around your purpose, kind of in the context of careers and jobs. And I think it's important to say too that this doesn't necessarily have to be a career thing. This
Right.
could be, a lifestyle change you want to make, or maybe you've always wanted to run a marathon and you just aren't quite sure how to get there, or you're an entrepreneur and you're working yourself to the bone and you don't have a good work life balance, so you need to be able to shift that. And how are you going to get there? So I think it's important to note that too. And we can't all live our purpose in our careers. Like there's 7 billion, how many billion people in the world? 7 or 8? I don't know, but not everybody can do that, and not everybody wants to do that. Your purpose might be something small, like supporting a family member who's ill, or not that that's small, but not
Yep.
necessarily a career driven thing. So
Or
I don't
maybe
want
not at first. It can always be like that
it could
sneaky thing where it's your passion project and then it turns into your job
right
or career way later. I mean, you just never know. If we're
right
open-minded and we do follow what we're passionate about, something eventually falls into place and clicks. I feel like
yeah, for sure.
keep going.
Yes. Yes.
But I love these visuals that you were sharing and coming up with, because I'm realizing how helpful visuals are for people with ADHD or neurodiverse folks, or just anyone in general, because I write a lot. I don't know about you guys. I write tons of notes. I read. I'm looking at letters all the time. And like when I see a chart or like colors, anything visual like this, it's just
It
like,
helps.
it helps me organize my mind. So
For
thanks.
sure. Yeah, I love it.
It
Yes.
makes my kids crazy that when we get something and I have to put it together, I never read the instructions. Like it makes them crazy. Like, Dad, it's right there. And I'm like, no, I'm a visual person. Show me the box. I'll figure out how to put it together.
That's
And then
so
6
funny.
hours later, like, if you just read the manual, Dad, we would have been done by an hour. And I'm like, that's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
not the way you go about it. And that's
Yep.
okay.
But yeah, I
Everybody's
mean,
process looks different.
I've always been visual, and and that made me struggle in school too, right? Because I was not a good reader. I've never been a good reader, and so there were times that my teachers would just like talk about it, and they'd have something in front of me, and I would visualize and say, "Oh, that's how to do it." And they go, "Yeah, absolutely." So,
Oh my gosh.
and the weird part is both of my kids were the same way. So my kids, we have a great school system where we are, and they would let them do oral exams instead of written exams because they knew that they knew the material, but they just had this transitional issue of getting it from their head onto paper. And so they realized that if they just asked them the questions instead of making them write them down, they knew that they knew the answers. And so
Cool.
it's just all of that.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to kind of take people through 4 steps, I believe, to
Yes.
making their vision a reality, which I think is helpful to break it down into steps. And 4 steps seems simple enough, but I know we've got a lot of kind of questions here within each one of these steps. But I always like to try to break things into like digestible chunks and tackle things one at a time. So I think this will be a good process for people to go through if they are trying to just make that vision come true for themselves. So
Yeah.
Very helpful.
it's great. Yeah. Do you
All
want
right,
to kick off this one, Warren? Or
yeah. So step one, vision. Start with the vision you created. How concrete is it? Is it just an idea, or can you actually see the components of the vision? Man, I think that's like,
Mhm.
it's huge, right? Is to just,
Yes.
some people have vision boards, some people journal. Crystal, you were talking about writing everything down. When I
Yeah.
talk to people, that's like the first thing is you have to get it in front of you, because once you write it down, then it has some, to this point, how concrete is it? It's more concrete because you're looking at it and you're starting to process that, yeah, maybe this can't really happen.
Right. Becomes a lot more real for
Yep.
sure.
And
Yes.
I was gonna say, I even wrote down when I was reading that, just like professional Olympic athletes, like what are they trained to do? Visualize winning, visualize them like performing at
Mhm.
the top performance, right? And it's part of their training when you're really serious about it. And I was just thinking about that, and I never took it seriously until the last few years, like visualizing my healing for what I was going through and like this and that. And it's true. It's part of like connecting the mind and the body. Like you
Mhm.
will be successful. This can happen. And when you see it, whether people think sometimes like, oh, they have to go to sleep in a dream. It's like, no, you just like really visualize it and allow yourself to imagine and get your imagination in there instead of
Right.
this is really combining. I think this is great because it's combining that left and that right side. Both it's like here's the
Right.
steps, but then bring your right in as well with your imagination to visualize like
Mhm.
no limitations. Like what
Yeah.
would you do if there's no limits?
Right. It's like it's truly what manifesting is, right? Where you're not just I think a lot of people hear manifesting and they think I'm just tossing this idea out into the universe and it's going to come true and I'm going to keep repeating it every day and it's going to happen, but what's
Mhm.
behind manifestation is a lot of
Yeah.
thought and planning and that the whole goal setting piece. But yeah, you need both.
Exactly.
Both things have to exist
Yeah.
to make it all come true. But I
I was
think the
gonna
vision creating part is a really fun part to
yeah.
really imagine what you want your life to look like.
I was wondering, I was gonna ask both of you guys before we got to the next thing, like just how did you both start visualizing and go through this step, whether it was on purpose or not, for what you're doing, like with your business and like your passions and everything that you've been doing online and just curious, like, did you visualize this or was it something else that maybe you saw or were drawn to first and it became this?
Susie, you want to go
Do you want
first?
Sure. So I did actually go through I went through the process of like writing a letter to myself, like my future self writing a letter to my current self when I first left my corporate job and I was starting down the path of real estate investing. I worked with a coach and that was one thing he had everyone do is sit down, imagine what you want your life to be like and be really detailed about it. Don't just tuck it away in a drawer, pull it out every once in a while and read it and refer to it and see are you moving in that direction or do you need to kind of regroup and shift and that most likely that future self is going to change and evolve, but at least it creates that excitement for what it is that you're about to set out to do and gets you more solid and clear on what that why is, what you were talking about, Crystal, like why am I actually doing this? And I think by envisioning your lifestyle in the future and things are going to be like, you're incorporating that why too, to that whole
Mhm.
future self. So
Oh, yeah.
I have gone through that and um it's a really good process. So yeah. What about you, Warren?
For me, it was more of a self-belief thing, right? Believing that I could do it. So
Mhm.
sitting here today talking to both of you is out of the realm of what I thought I was capable of doing. Right? As simple as it is, and it's not really simple. There's a lot that goes behind this, but having enough faith in yourself to take that chance and then adjusting as you need to. But hey, I've done IT for 30 years, right? And that's great, but what if? What if I take this step and I try this and it works, right? And so my
Mhm.
mindset isn't what if it fails? Because my old mindset would have been, I don't want to do this because I might fail at it and I don't want to fail. But
Mhm.
now the mindset is there's like endless possibilities. Doing what we're doing, there's endless possibilities. So why not focus on have your vision, to Susie, like you said, of what is it going to look like in a couple of years? What is that dream life going to be? And then
Mhm.
stay on that path going forward.
Mhm.
I love that.
Totally. Yes.
And I was just thinking how all of us, don't you think it makes it a little slightly bit easier or just more motivating to know like we all kind of were in relationships or marriage or going down these other roads, right? And just so loving and caring and right and going through that toxic like dynamics, relationships, whatever, because we share it openly when we're on these shows, that it's like you get to the point where you just start stripping everything away until you're like, you know what? I got to do this for myself. What the heck
Yeah.
am I doing? Giving to everyone else. And eventually we kind of did it the
Mhm.
other way around, where maybe hopefully our kids are going to be equipped and empowered to do it first right out of the gate instead of because we learned and we're
Yep.
teaching
Right.
them and showing them the way to do it. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
excited for them, for this generation of like all of our kids and
Yes, for sure.
doing it differently.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's never
Yeah.
too late because look at
Never
us.
too late. I know. I keep telling myself that. There's plenty of time. And I think
Plenty of
as you
time.
get older and try new things, I don't know, I find it like once you get over that fear of failure, I find it easier to try new things because you got this life experience and you know more, clearly where you're headed. And I don't know, like you were saying, Warren, I think it becomes less scary once you just start
Yeah.
and start trying new things.
Yep.
The fear starts to be less of a driver. You put it in the back seat. So
I just smack the heck out of it and throw it out the car. No.
throw it out the window, get it out of the car, right?
Yep.
You don't even need it as a passenger.
Oh man.
Um,
Take the chance. Just
so y
take the chance.
right.
Yep.
Absolutely. So yeah, so writing down the vision for the future. This last part, I don't know if Warren, you want to cover like kind of figuring out who is a part of the vision.
Yeah. Is the vision you? Is the vision, if you're doing coaching, is it your clients? Is it who are your customers, right? And
Mhm.
I think just what we're doing today, we have customers, we have people that are interested in what we're doing, and so there's value into what we're doing. And as we continue to bring that message forward, it kind of expands our vision because we think we're kind of isolated to do one thing. A couple of years ago, just till recently, I worked with another woman, and we kind of focused our purpose on divorce, and that was great, and we moved forward on it. But then she and I kinda got to this crossroads where I said, "I really don't wanna do the divorce thing," and she really does, and I said, "That's great, but I think we have to kind of change that." My vision has changed. Your vision is very, very concrete of what you wanna do, and that's great because there's people that need you,
Mhm.
but it's not my lane anymore. So my
Yeah,
vision changed, and that's okay. That's part of the process,
absolutely.
is that what you see as your vision today might not be what your vision's gonna be
Mhm.
a year from
Mhm.
now, and just being able to pivot is really important.
Mhm. I had actually written that down to mention today. That's, like, super important to
No.
mention because not only may it happen, I think it's likely to happen. Like, I think about where I first started out down the path of being an entrepreneur and doing real estate investing, and that was, like, taking up 100% of my time until I had that light bulb moment of wanting to do the work in narcissistic abuse recovery. And I mean, so and so that's more than like 90% of my time versus 10% real estate investing. And yeah, the things that I'm starting to do, like you said, YouTube and writing a book and all those things, they were not part of my vision originally. So
Yeah.
things definitely evolve and change. And that does not mean that you failed in any way. So
No, it means you grew and evolved and
Right.
changed,
right,
Yes.
right.
right?
Yes.
And just
And
kept
Yes.
going.
you've been
Awesome.
learning. Yeah. So, but yeah, the
Mhm.
who, I think just like you were saying, who can help you with this? And it could be, like you mentioned, a coach, or maybe you work with someone who's doing a role that you would really like. So it could be a more of a mentorship. It could be just getting the support from your family or your friends to say, hey, I really want to make this change. And maybe it means you have to make some sacrifices in your family life. Like you
Yep.
can't go out to eat 4 times a week, or you've got to buy a less expensive house or a car or whatever. So, yeah, who do you need alongside of you to make it happen? Getting
Yeah,
that all figured out.
where's that support coming from?
Mhm.
I think Susie, we had talked when we did our show last that I went to I went to Kyle and I went to Sandra and I said, listen, I really want to I want to really kind of embed myself in what I'm doing, and to do that means there's less family time. I'm going to be downstairs a lot more creating what I'm creating. I would appreciate you guys understanding that and supporting that, because it is, to your point, Susie, it does impact the dynamic, right? It changes
Mhm.
things because I'm kind of separating myself, not intention. Well, I guess part of it is intentionally, but with a goal in mind. It's not just that I
Right.
want to set myself from them, but there's a goal in mind, and they're now part of that vision because they understand what it is I want to do and where I'm trying to get to. So having that support system is really part of the
Mhm.
process.
Yeah, definitely. Have any of you ever done vision boards? Are you vision board
Mhm.
people? Yeah, Crystal, you
I
did.
have
When
not.
I asked that with you, you seem so creative. I was like, I bet Crystal can crush some vision
Me?
boards.
You know, it's
Yeah.
funny. I've watched other people do it. I've even done it with other people and trying to get my son to do it. He hasn't done it yet, but I'm trying to motivate him to do it with me.
I
But
was
it's
talking
like,
to my son about that too. Yeah.
really? I know,
Yeah.
'cause and you're like trying to inspire them, and sometimes they're like, "What?" They're
Yeah.
like
He
in
didn't know
that
what it was, so I was like, "Oh,
mode.
let's." Yeah.
So it's funny you said that because the first time I did it, it was in the acting studio when I was doing acting training, and it was like one of the community things that they did once in a while. They were like, "Let's do a vision board together in here." So it kind of made me do it because I don't think I would have tried it otherwise. And then I've done it like almost every other year since then. But I will say it's for me, it's just about the images, like you said, and the creativity. And like it's not like I'm looking for this thing because I'm dreaming of the like I kind of let it flow with what I see and what I find and let it just
Mhm.
so it may not be the perfect thing that's reflecting, but it's like almost like the vibe that you get from looking at it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So you're right. It was more of
Mhm.
a creative flow for me than like super
Yeah.
literal, which half of me is super literal and half of me is this other thing. So
Yeah.
good
It's
question.
Yeah, I have never done
Thank
one,
you.
but it's on my list of things to do. I thought I would do it at the beginning of this year, and then the start of my year was still a bit rocky, but it's still on my list to do. Even if it's March, I still want to do one. But
Yeah.
See, so I will motivate you guys then to try it without being super literal because you may not find the perfect image, or you can even draw
right,
something because it is weird if you're like you have something in your mind and you're like looking off the internet to print out pictures because you can't find it in a magazine or something. You know, I do it the old school way with like magazines and
right,
whatnot, looking like
right.
a serial killer with the cutting out letters, right? Like putting the words on there that I like create, like artistic,
Mm,
just
yeah,
anything that inspires you, basically. Sometimes it doesn't have to be super literal. So I will say anything that inspires you or makes you feel the vibe that you want to live out your life, your dreams.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So I just
I
want
think.
to take 1 second, if I can, to say shout out to Susie with a Z because she is with us today. So
Hi,
I just want to
Susie
say
with
hi,
the Z.
Susie.
Hi,
Thanks.
Susie. Oh, thanks for joining us.
She's relating. Thank you.
No, yeah, Susie and I talked about vision boards because I think she's a vision board person too. I
Okay.
feel like she said she's done them for like a long time, for decades, and she swears
Oh,
by them. So we should do a vision board show sometime. That would be so
That would
fun.
be great. That would
Yeah.
be great.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the other piece with this that I've kind of learned along the way on the who piece is as you're like getting down the path of making this vision a reality. There's a book that I've heard about. I haven't read it yet, but I think it's called Who Not How. And
Oh.
it talks about using your time wisely when you're trying to make strides towards your goal. And if that means if you have resources you can direct to having people do things, delegate tasks, or have people do things for you that who are experts at that thing rather than you trying to learn something that really isn't going to be your main part of your job or what you'll be doing in the
Mhm.
future. I'm thinking about like creating a website. When I first started my
Mhm.
coaching business, I tried to create my own website and I got so frustrated. I wanted to throw my laptop through the window. And finally, I was like, I'm spending so much time on this and it's taking my time away from all these other important things I need to do, like
Yep.
learning more about how trauma affects people so that I can coach them better, you know? So I ended up just biting the bullet and using some money to, to pay somebody to do a website for me. And there's so many valuable resources out there for people who are, need that type of work done
Yep.
or any of those, those types of tasks. And it's well worth it to, again, to help get you closer to your vision more quickly, is trying to figure out, like, is this really a task I should be spending my time on, or should I try to find somebody who can help me and do it for me, who is an expert? So
Yep.
that
I'm glad
helps.
you brought that up. That is like,
It was a
and
big
I've
learning for me. Yeah.
like I've heard that so many times, delegate in the professional
Right.
world, right? I'm just like, what? Like I felt
Yeah.
so responsible to have to figure everything out myself, right? Just in that
Mhm.
professional world.
But
And
you
like
don't.
I feel like coming out of it, I've been able to learn better. Just like what you were saying. When you work on
Mhm.
your own stuff, I'm like, oh, suddenly I
Right.
learned as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
fun.
I've been struggling so hard trying to get my YouTube engagement up and moving. And it was
Mhm.
like stagnant for so long. And then I found someone who reached out and said, I can absolutely help you do it. And I was like,
Cool.
let me take a chance. And it's just, I
That's
don't even think about it anymore. He just does his thing, and he is overseas and he sends me messages during the day, and I just kind of watching what he's doing for me. And I'm learning from him because he's not only just doing the work, but he's kind of educating me on what I need to do. So at some point,
That's the
not that
best.
he wants to lose the business, but at some point I can start taking
Mhm.
on some of that responsibility and move and keep moving it forward. But yeah,
Right.
coaches are, no matter what it is, coaches and having that subject matter expert to kind of move you forward
Right.
is really important.
Cuts out that learning curve and allows you
Yeah,
to focus on other things, creating more
right.
content, more videos. Yeah,
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Very smart.
So, all right, what are last parts of our vision setting here? I think we maybe touched on some of this. What are you doing? What activities are you engaged in? So the what behind it. Again, just like solidifying that vision. Um, who are you working with? In what way? What's a typical day like for you? What's happening? Again, just getting clear on what that vision looks like. I don't know if there's much more to add. Do you guys have much more to add to
Yeah,
that?
that's great.
I think for me, what I would add is if you really want to make this happen, it's not a 9 to 5
Mhm.
thing, right? It goes
Mhm.
way beyond 9 to 5. And I know a lot of people come home after their day of work and they're doing whatever it is, family stuff or social. This, if you really want to move yourself forward, there's that time commitment that's part
Mhm.
of it. And so my day never ends at 5 o'clock anymore. It just, when I
Yeah.
was, when I was just doing my job and I was okay just doing my job, then yeah, my day can end at 5 and then I can do other things. Now my day's ramping up at 5 because
Mhm.
Mhm.
my work day is over, but now the fun begins. And my boss hates it when I say because it's 5 o'clock and now the fun begins. But that's kind of the reality of it. Is
Yeah.
when you have that vision and you want to make something happen, it's not going to happen during your normal part of the day. And so there is that you have to take that into consideration,
Yeah.
that there is that time constraint around it as well.
Yeah. You have to do the work, and yeah, it doesn't just poof, like we were talking about manifestation. It's not just something that magically happens. For
Yeah.
sure. I think that's a really good point to mention.
All right. So
So,
now it's time to make some decisions. You have this
mhm.
lovely vision of your
Ooh.
future. You know who is involved, what you're doing, and where you're going to be. So stop for a moment. Notice how you feel. Is your vision exciting you? Is this something you generally want to move forward? That's
Mhm.
obviously
Yeah,
a,
doing a
a
little gut
huge point.
check, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because
yeah.
you might start really detailing it out and think, "Huh, maybe I don't want this."
Maybe this
And
isn't.
that's
Yeah,
okay, I think sometimes you feel like you think you're headed down a path, so you've gotta commit to it and stick with that, but if your
Mhm.
gut's telling you, This may not be exactly what I thought it would be,"
yeah,
trust it and pivot. It's okay to pivot early on. That might be what you do, and that's okay,
Absolutely. And
for
it's
sure.
all just experience under the belt, right? I keep once I finally got past a certain hump in my adult life, I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm going to take these all as life lessons. And, to someone else on paper, I might look like just a raging mess. Like, oh, you left this job. What's your career? It's like, I'm not in a box of what, you think my career is. I've done all these things and you just
Mhm.
keep moving and grooving until you, like you said, you figure out and everything really does come into place where you're just got that fire under you and you're not questioning and following the steps anymore because you have gone through these steps so many times that you
Mhm.
don't have to question, is this the right, like, because
Right.
you're so in tune eventually with your intuition and your gut and your experiences, what doesn't work. So then when it does, but it
Mhm.
does take time. So
Yes,
you're right
for
about that.
sure. For sure. It's a journey. And I
And
think
when
this
the
next sorry, go ahead, Warren.
I was just gonna say, when the adrenaline starts flowing, you kinda know that you're in the right place, right? Because when you're
Yeah.
just going through the motions, you feel a certain way, but then when you have that fire and you understand that this is what you wanna do, and then all the adrenaline's going and you're really kind of not even thinking
It
about
is.
what you need to do, you kinda know you're in the right place.
Mhm. For sure.
Amen on adrenaline.
Yes. Yeah, and I think this next point is so important. Oh, did we talk about the why, Warren?
Nope,
That
nope,
that
let's
next
go
one?
back.
So this other element of the
Yeah.
decision is the fourth question of why. So what is compelling about your vision? Why do you want to do it? What will change as a result of this new vision? How is this vision connected to your thoughts about purpose and meaning in your life? So a lot of questions there to try to get to your why, but the why is such a critical piece. I think it's just as critical as setting your vision. It's like what you were saying, Warren, that right now, as you're in this phase of yourself trying to achieve your own vision, you're working beyond your 5 o'clock, your normal time you would have
Yep,
worked, and you're working on this passion of yours. And once you figure out what your why is, that becomes a lot less daunting, right?
yeah,
Like these extra
yeah,
hours, the work you've got to put in to make it happen. Once you're solid on your why, those things just don't feel like work. They
right,
feel like you're doing what you should be doing to get to where you wanna be, and you're gonna do it,
and you're
without
seeing the progress, right? Y as you
Mhm.
go through this and you keep seeing those small incremental things that you want to accomplish, that kinda checking the box and moving forward, and I think seeing progress is really a big part of it, because if you're going through the motions and you're doing all the work, but you're not seeing any fruits of the labor,
Yeah.
that can be a little bit,
Mhm.
um, that could be
Demotivating.
distract yeah,
Yeah.
it can, but as you put that time in and as you see the benefits of it, it kind of reinforces that vision for you that, "Yeah, I am in the right place because I'm seeing
Mhm.
that progress moving forward." At
Right.
least it is for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck
What
yeah.
are your whys? I'm just curious. I think we all are doing what we're doing to try to have more fulfillment, more meaning in our lives when it comes to how we spend our time and what our careers are, but are there other things underneath that for you guys, for your whys of
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we all wanted to help people, obviously, after
Mhm.
having certain life experiences and feeling
Right.
certain pain emotionally, mentally, physically, going through, like we talk about toxic dynamics, people, places, things, but also just feeling maybe misplaced or misunderstood or just lost in the sauce, like maybe just in the wrong career, the wrong thing we're spending time with. And then coming out of it, it's like we want to help people. And that might be the first, why. And then all of a sudden, I feel like for me, it's kind of splitting into, these parallel streets of like helping people and continuing to help myself and my son.
Yes.
And because every time we do this, it's helping other people, but it's still helping us too, because we have to keep that
Mhm.
fire lit and going. Because otherwise, even if we're doing something awesome that we're passionate about, we can easily fall off track. Because,
Totally.
like Warren was saying, if we don't see the fruits, if we're not seeing any progress, if we're not celebrating our small victories, which I
Mhm.
learned some years ago, like to do that and to give myself permission to do that. That it was all about the big things for me before, but it's like when you take the time and you start really loving yourself and you know
Mhm.
giving back to yourself, it's like, oh, that's why I'm giving back to other people too, because it just keeps coming back. It's like that boomerang.
Right.
You throw it out, the people that need help catch it, and it's coming right back to you with extra
Mhm.
love and abundance.
Right. Yeah. How about you, Warren? Is there a personal element to it beyond helping people out there?
I think beyond the more traditional helping people. It's inspiring people to know that, and I, just for me, that, you know what, at 58, you can change your life. And at 64, you can be living your best life. So don't put age into whatever you want to do. When you have a vision, don't put your age around it. Don't put barriers that are self imposed around you to tell you that you can't do it. As you believe in yourself, you can do it. And so that is where a lot of interaction I have with people is more about not so much the not so much the how, but it is the why. That yes,
Mhm.
you can do this, and knock those barriers down, knock those self constraining barriers down, and just say it doesn't matter. It's a number. If this is something you really want to do, then go out there and do it. So for me, it's not like a specific thing like what you're doing, Susie, from a coaching perspective, but it's more of a motivational thing to say, if this is important to you, then go out there and do it. And here's the
Mhm.
steps you need to take. But so my vision, excuse me, is more about the motivation of people to say, go out there and just live your life. Be happy. Go out there and do it. Don't put any kind of restrictions on yourself and on your mind, and kind of shift your mindset away from the negative to the positive, and then see what kind of an impact it has on your ability to move yourself forward.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
It's a great one.
Very cool. Yeah, I feel like there's always something more to the whys, besides just if it is a career thing, I
Well,
wanna
yeah.
do
Yep.
this to be more fulfilled in my career. There oftentimes are those personal elements to it too, where it's like an intersection of, I could do this thing that's really fulfilling, but I could also get the lifestyle I want or the work-life
Yes.
balance I want, and
Yep.
that was my case too. Like, I worked in corporate America for 17 years, and now that I've broken away from that and been on my own for a few years, I will, come hell or high water, I will make sure I never have to go back to a corporate job again, because the whole point of me doing this is to be able to be here for my kids when they get out of school, to be able to drive them to school in the morning, to be able to bake some muffins that for them to have when they come home, and work from home, work from anywhere. So it's okay to have those two things can
Mhm.
both exist, and they should. You should be trying to achieve that lifestyle overall that you really want to be living. So,
Amen.
yeah,
'Cause you're worth it.
absolutely. We all deserve to be happy.
So,
Yes.
so Susie, how hard was it to make that leap from corporate to entrepreneur?
Ooh, it was hard. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
Mhm.
to walk away from a stable paycheck, I'd been with the same company for 17 years. So I was very um, comfortable. The culture felt familiar to me. Health insurance, the paid vacation time, all the things and being a single parent, I'd been a single parent for um, like 7 years at that point.
Mhm.
So just knowing, I've got these 2 little beings I've gotta make sure I can feed and keep a roof over their heads. So, yeah, a lot of stress around it. But I think what you said early on was something I just kept going back to, like, believing in myself, trusting in myself, looking back to examples of how I had figured things out in the past, and I was okay. It was hard, but I figured it out, and starting to put some things in place before I took that leap so that I was on a good trajectory, and I was set up from a financial perspective, all those things that I felt comfortable enough to do it. So, I don't recommend anybody just deciding, I found my purpose, I'm gonna give my notice tomorrow." No, there has to be a lot of planning involved, and make sure that you're set up in a way that you're gonna be successful, because, um, you don't wanna be that to happen and be completely discouraged from pursuing this dream that you have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's scary, but now that I've done that, I feel like starting something new or different is so much less scary now. I think once you rip that Band-Aid off,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
becomes so much easier to just take the leap and do it.
I love
So,
that.
yeah.
It makes me think of that quote. I don't know who said it, but I remember it from acting class. It was like, take the leap and the net will appear. It was supposed to inspire us all.
Yeah.
Like, don't hold back when you're acting or in your life. Don't hold back.
Right.
Like, go
Yeah.
for it.
You always picture these worst case scenario things when you're thinking about making a big life change like that. And usually it ends up being so far from reality. The things that we wake up in the middle of the night thinking about just don't come true. So, yeah, got to go for it at
Yeah,
some point.
I remember that worst case scenarios, and now I'm just laughing about it. I'm like, why
I
did I think
know.
like that? It was just so crazy.
I know.
Now you're doing like the opposite, and you're letting yourself dream and go for it. It's like,
Uh-huh.
but we
Yes.
got it from somewhere. Somebody said it or made us feel that way or something because
Mhm.
somehow it got in there and now it's
Yeah.
gone.
There's a lot of
Thank God.
messaging out there, I think, that
Mhm.
creates this big fear of failure.
Yeah, in the media and
So,
society, even if
mhm.
it was not anywhere direct from family or
Right.
a significant other, it's just out there.
Yeah, totally. Go back
Fortunately.
to that core self-belief, unshakable belief in yourself.
So, Crystal, I have a question
Yes.
because I've been watching all of you. Like, you're on YouTube, like doing videos all day, all the time. Now
Too
you're
much
You have
sometimes.
I've been seeing you on there a lot.
And
just
then I won't be
You
on there
know?
for like 2 weeks, and then I'll go on and do 10 videos in a day. So,
I'm the same way. Consistency can be
okay.
challenging.
but you're very open and you're very honest and very you're very transparent about everything that you talk about. And so, do you think about that, or is it just a natural? You just
No.
go out there and do it.
I will be honest, and you're getting the totally new me. I mean, even years ago, I keep referring back to the acting training because literally, you guys, I learned so much about how I live my life now from that. Even though it was acting, I do the things that I learned there now, just in life. I haven't acted in like a few years now. It's been a long time, and it doesn't matter because, yeah, I don't think anymore unless I'm just writing
Mhm.
down points like what we're doing where I'm allowing myself to freely make notes and not second guess and look up everything online and go, is this on point? Am I saying this right? Like the way
Mhm.
that I used to. I know I didn't want to be wrong or lead anyone astray. I wanted to be on point. I always had that gnawing feeling like I'm going to screw something up, right? Or like the anxiety, I have to figure out all these things or I'm just not enough. I'm not doing a good job. I've spent so much of my life living that way, most of my life, and I know I got that from somewhere. We won't go into that, but to the now, and I will say it was from getting on these online shows and podcasts after I had been through a lot of stuff. And once I gave myself permission, I wrote a couple social media posts and I made a decision after getting out of that last abusive relationship. Just I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this post
Mhm.
on Instagram and I'm going to go on this show and I'm going to talk about this for the first time. And I remember praying in my old apartment and just like so many tears and just having
Mhm.
this come to Jesus moment where I'm like, you know what? This is so much suffering. This is just too much, but I'm going to turn all this into gold. Help me, Lord.
Aw.
Help me turn these like sludge and this slime right into golds and diamonds and help other people and just turn my life around. And and your heart sings whether you're praying or you're just talking to yourself or you're making affirmations or claims or you're writing it down, whatever you do, I'm not speaking to religion or what we believe like that or any other organizational like dogmas and stuff. It's our heart and our soul. It's like I made that decision to move forward and be transparent because I had hidden behind those walls of being abused, of being manipulated, right? Of cowering back
Mhm.
over all that time. And you guys know we talk about it and just being like, I have to be like this so that I'm not too out there. I'm not because my personality is so big and I'm getting, criticized for being that way basically. And
Mhm.
I'm not doing it anymore. I don't care what anybody says. Because when you have the last straw, when you get the icing on the cake, man, it put a fire under me. That's what
Yep.
really ignited my fire. And the more encouragement I would get from somebody either hearing me or listening to me, even still getting criticized from the sidelines, right? But I didn't care anymore. That was the huge thing. And then hearing, oh gosh, when you're being yourself and you're just letting it fly like that, and you might, yeah, hear from someone else like that's so weird. I've heard being weird, being quirky. I like the word quirky better than
Quirky.
weird. But
Hmm.
yeah, I am all those things. And then learning about, I know I'm going on, but learning about the ADHD diagnosis too,
Yep.
in the midst of all this stuff, it was a huge one because then
Yeah.
it helped me embrace the weirdness and the quirkiness and understand why am I so all over the place, but yet so just emphatic about what I believe and what I stand for now. So it's really been something to embrace and help me just let it go. And I know my acting training had a lot to do with that because there's a lot of people out there. I'm like, you want to try acting? They're like, no, I could never do that. Don't
Yeah.
ever ask me that again. And I get it because people are watching you, or it's that feeling of being vulnerable
Well,
and
yep.
naked, in
Right.
front of everyone, whether it's literal or with your emotions and your storytelling. And we're storytelling right now, just telling our sides of the story. And
Yeah.
this is being vulnerable too. This is real life.
Yeah.
And to me, it's been more valuable and a bigger payback that is not even in the form of money, but just payback to self-value and self-principles. And like, this is what we're doing. This is why. And I'm proud of it. And I'm going to
That's
be
so
myself.
awesome.
That's
High
awesome.
five.
Sorry, that was a
Woo.
long answer.
That's so great. No, it's just,
That was
that's
perfect.
awesome.
Yeah.
I
But
think
see,
that's
we
so,
can't prepare answers like that. Or, we just can't.
No.
yeah. No, I mean, I think it's so great that you're being your authentic self and showing people how to do that because I think so many people struggle. I mean, feel like I struggle with it sometimes. You put yourself out there and it's hard to let your guard down and not overthink and think of all these worst case scenarios. So I think it's amazing. We need more people like you out there who
Yeah.
are being themselves and showing people that it's okay and it's safe to do that.
Heck yeah.
So,
You guys are
yeah.
here. Y'all doing it. We're all different. None of us have the same personality.
Yeah.
And we have different levels and percentages of introverted versus extroverted. I think I mentioned that last time Ward and I were chatting, or it's like, we have to respect that and understand that with other people. Not everybody's going to be ready to party when you're ready to party, or like
Right.
people are going to need some downtime. And I've learned a lot with that as well. I didn't realize how much downtime I needed and how, as much as I'm talking right now, I've become way more introverted.
Mhm.
When I get off of these
Same way.
shows,
Yeah.
like I wasn't like that before. I was so
Mhm.
people pleasing and so being available that I was way too extroverted. No wonder you get burnout,
Mhm. For sure. For
So
sure.
that's interesting too.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right. So let's go to my favorite.
I don't even
Step
remember how we
3.
got there now. I'm like, what did even Warren
I know,
even
that
ask?
was
I don't know, but
it's good
he just
stuff.
made me think about so many things.
Step 3.
So
You
this
want to read
step,
this one?
yeah. So this step moves to the investigator's fifth question. How? What are the steps needed to make this happen? Start by writing down every action you might need to take to bring this reality to life. Depending on how large the change you're making, this could be a daunting task. But if you don't break it down into steps into achievable units, if you don't, you are less likely to succeed. And we started off by talking about the importance of having that plan and writing down your vision. And I think vision board is great. I
Mhm.
definitely want to start thinking about putting one of those together.
Mhm. Totally.
But it is daunting if you look just at the end result and you don't look at the steps. You don't work yourself backwards to how you're going to achieve that. Then it becomes overwhelming, and you're so much more likely to just give up because you're going to say, "There's no way I can't. There's too much." But it's those small incremental steps that you take that you keep working yourself forward. I even just think about my social media journey, right? From starting off with Facebook and then the boys telling me to try Instagram and doing lives, and it's just that progress. And as you get more comfortable doing it, it just keeps moving you forward. And it isn't just, it's whatever your vision is. You just have to keep propelling yourself forward.
Mhm. And then nothing feels better than checking items off your list, right?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so satisfying.
Yeah.
Do any of you do something and you go back to check it off and it's not on your list and you write it down just so you could strike
Yes.
through it?
Yes, you could
I
just
do
feels
that
so
now.
yes.
Oh my gosh. so
Yeah.
fun.
I think something that helped me with this piece and just writing down the steps needed to take when I read this, I think of just like a laundry list of things, and that can feel overwhelming in and of itself. So I think something that can help take this even further is bucketing things out.
Yep.
So I think about like starting my coaching business. I needed a website. Okay, so what steps do I need to take to do the website? I needed to start getting clientele. Okay, what steps do I need to do that? I need to build my social media. Okay, what are the steps? So just bucketing things too
Yep.
into like bigger topics, and what are those steps that can help make it feel a little bit less overwhelming.
And I
And like
find it,
you've yeah,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
Susie, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I find it interesting. Here they say order them from first to last, and I always go last to first. I always work myself
Yeah,
backwards, because I think if you go first to last, you're not quite sure what
right.
that end point is. But if you have your goal and you kind of, to your points, is you have bucketing things and then keep breaking things down, it's certainly a less daunting.
For
Good
sure.
point.
Yes.
I've done that on accident. Didn't even think about it, Warren. So thanks for that.
I think that works great. Definitely.
I think, that's part of the project manager and me too, is to just, but it is, Susie. I mean, it's exactly it. It's just having that line item and then all those little steps. And then as you start putting actions and dates and holding yourself accountable to achieving that too. I think that's the other side of
Yeah.
it, is having realistic timelines to say, oh, I'm going to make this all happen in 3 months. You're probably not going to make it happen in 3
Yeah.
months, and you're going to get frustrated when you don't. So be honest with yourself and say, you know what? It might take me a year, but that's okay because you have time to kind of work through it. And as your vision changes, and as to your point, Susie, as you get things that you didn't even write down, but happen to they happen, you can kind of account for that. And it's not going to be overwhelming and say, oh my God, this is going to totally mess up my plan. You have enough space and you have enough buffer to absorb it and just kind of adjust to it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're all list people, so we got that in common for sure. I love my lists. They're the best.
I don't know that I could function without. I couldn't function without my list. And I think I don't want to keep going back to the same thing, but journaling for me changed everything, because as soon as I started getting all those thoughts out of my head and onto paper, then you have more clarity too. So then you can actually think about what you want to do, because you don't have your mind racing at 100 different things. It helps me. And Crystal, I know for probably for you, and I know for Kyle, that it is busy up there, and it is kind of more of a challenge. And I'm trying to get him to be more procedural in what he does, because I think it does bring him some stability in what he's doing.
True that. No,
Yeah,
and I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of women that I've talked to over the years were into journaling, probably because when we were growing up, we wrote Dear Diary, right? And it's like it was easier.
Yeah.
And I'm like, more men. I wish more men were talking about it. And I have to thank Warren for that too, just being like open and not, double thinking what he shares, like what worked for you, because I'm like, men really need to get on board with that. I'm just not hearing as many men say that. And maybe the word journaling is like a turnoff for some men. I don't know if it was for you, Warren, but one of the terms I learned in this book, I know I've shared this like a million times on different videos or whatever, and it just happens to be sitting next to me, but the Artist's Way book. And I never thought of myself as an artist until I did the acting training. This was like the first book they had us do creative exercises from. So I would recommend this to anyone, really, even though it says the Artist's Way. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be right brain to go through this, especially for left brain people. She talks about it in here, like it's about reclaiming your inner child and learning how to be creative again, when we're all taught from society and our family to grow up and stop being creative, right? And she talks about it in here as morning pages. Well, sometimes it's afternoon pages. Whatever kind of pages, but it's a brain dump. So I don't know if that helps men out there think a brain dump instead of journaling. Brain dump, whatever's shaking around in there. Or you have negative thoughts, get them on the paper. You have blah 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 thoughts, like so many just put it down, like dump it down, brain dump it down. You don't have to be like some kind of thought out entry if you got that going on. Just dump it down so that you can clear it out. Like you said, it helps you clear your mind and then move about your day. And for a lot of people who've tried that, they're just surprised. Like, oh yeah, it does help clear my mind. Wow.
Yeah, I love that. I think encouraging men. I was thinking as you're saying that, go in your man cave and do a brain dump, okay?
Yes,
Men,
thank
men out
you.
there. But I do think that, yeah, there's like this. I could see how for men there'd be maybe a stigma around the
Well, I was
journaling
just
piece. So
gonna
I love
say, yeah,
brain dump. I think
yeah.
that's awesome.
Word.
I think brain dump
Yeah.
is way better because I think men don't want to be vulnerable and write down what they're
Mhm.
really thinking and admitting that they
Right.
have something going on. And so it's easier to keep it in their mind than write it
Yeah.
down and have to face what they're writing. And so that's the hard part is overcoming that stigma of writing it down and
Mhm.
addressing what it is that's challenging you. So it is
Mhm.
harder for guys because they don't want to have to deal with
Bingo.
that. Yeah.
Mhm. Crystal, you're making these products. I think you should make a
Chris is
brain
telling
dump
me.
journal.
There you, I
You know, I didn't think of calling it that. I was over here writing all
Uh-huh.
these ideas. That's a really good idea.
that's a great
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
The
Look
brain
at all
dump
the
journal.
things we find out. This is in real time. We're just creating new
Right. New
intentions and visions
products.
for new
Yep.
Mhm.
ventures.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Love it.
You
All
guys are
right.
awesome.
Let's move
Should
on to, I think, the
our
last
final
one.
step.
Yeah.
You want me to read this one off?
Sure.
Step 4, our final step here. So, step 4 is all about action. And the final question is, when do you want to move forward? So, when being the key question here. Your success will be directly related to taking action. However, this doesn't mean you have to do it all yourself. We already talked a little bit about that. Sometimes just taking the first few steps will connect you with someone who might be able to help you, or you take a few steps and discover a job posting for the very job you want, or you see the perfect apartment in the city you'd like to move to. So, yeah, all about just figuring out when you can get this whole thing going. Are there any hurdles in your way or things in your path that need to be addressed before you can get going and getting that all squared away?
Yeah.
I love
And I
how it's
think,
called the investigators questions too.
yeah, right.
Mhm.
Pointing that
Yeah.
out.
Yes.
I think the
Yeah.
when is when, well, the first one is when you accept that you want to do it. You want to take that step, right? So that the initial when is when in your mind are you ready to
Mhm.
take the chance? And then when you're ready to take the chance, then what does that look like going forward? And I think, for me it was, okay, I want to do this whole YouTube thing and I want to get to X number of subscribers in this point. I want to start doing what I'm going to be doing, but I have to take that first step. I had to get it into my head that, yeah, I want to commit to making YouTube a platform that I want to be on. And then when I had that clarity around, yes, I want to do this, when do I want to start? And just me being me, yesterday, I want to start yesterday. So let's go. And that
Mhm.
that to me has been a problem in my career, to be honest though, because everything is, I got to start yesterday. Like, why is I'm not moving fast enough and people aren't
Right.
going to accept me because I'm not moving myself fast enough. I'm not doing the right things. And it would always get me in trouble because I wasn't prepared. Whatever it was I was doing, I wasn't prepared enough to be successful in moving myself forward. And I got myself into trouble because I wanted to be a people pleaser. I wanted to, make my bosses happy. I wanted to make sure my kids were okay. And I was making mistakes because I wasn't ready to do that. So I think the when is a very important component of that.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah.
I just wrote down just a note for myself. I was like, action plans are the most helpful, because I'm thinking of my PR career and how many marketing, PR, communications plans we were, and some of them would be super fluffy and super like qualitative, and I'm just like, and then finally we got down to the point where like, well, this is the action plan. And that would be like the real deal.
Mhm.
That would be what
Mhm.
everybody knew what to do and all the real details were in there. We kind of knew like, this is really the meat of what is going
Yeah.
on. Action plan, whether it was like, these are the steps, these are the details for like this media relations part, who we're going to contact and exactly what's going on, instead of this big fluffy, like, this is the brand image and our branding plan. And,
Right.
it's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. And we have to have that too, to get the vibe and but the action steps, not those were always my favorite, and like what we would work off of for that and for any of this. And like
Mhm.
Lauren said, I love it. He's like, yesterday, that's how I am. And that's probably why I've run myself into the ground so many times, because I'm like, I want to do it all, and I want to do it all right now. And I don't know if it was Oprah or somebody who's like, you can have it all, but you can't have it all right now at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Life doesn't usually work that way.
really try to force it to work that way, and that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
art of not forcing it is a whole other lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So Susie,
Absolutely.
when you were planning the book, what was your when?
It was around this time. It was like end of February this year. So I'm running a little bit behind. But
No.
kind of thinking about when when you're when you should really be putting books out there into the world. There's a certain window of time that works
Yep.
well. So I was trying to target like the front end of that, and yeah, a little behind it, but I'm okay with that. So
When you started, was your end goal to have it ready in February? Was that kind of, and then working back from February?
yeah, I'm trying to think if I
February to March. I remember you saying that. So there was
yeah, I definitely had that time. I don't remember if I worked from the end point forward or if it was more from the starting point and what step. I think I worked it that way. Like, okay, I want to do this, so what steps do I have to take to get there? So it was kind of starting from the beginning and looking ahead for me.
it's pretty awesome.
That worked
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
Just
I think
Cool.
your book writing and the whole process and that is like a great, example for all these steps too. I'm just like in amazement. Anyone who writes a book, I'm just like, it's awesome. Like I want to do it
Aw.
too. It's a lot of organizing. So the hats off
It
to you.
is. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Very.
Yeah, I'm excited.
You should be.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if you wanna sneak it in here. I don't know if it's still oh wait, we're not allowed to talk about it yet, right?
No, we can.
Oh.
We can talk about it.
I was like, wait, am I saying something that shouldn't be?
No, you're fine. It's coming out in a couple weeks.
You're like, oh, good.
No, it's coming.
Someone
So
else
this
is
my
mentioning
book.
it. Yeah.
Nurturing After Narcissism, Raising, Thriving, and Resilient Children After Divorcing a Narcissist. So I just got my proof copy in the mail from Amazon yesterday. So I'm
cool.
super excited. It feels like it's so weird to have it in my hands because it feels so real. I'm like, whoa, am I actually gonna hit publish on this thing? So yeah, this is something I wrote just based on my own. It's a combination of my lived experiences dealing with the aftermath coming out of a divorce with somebody who is narcissistic and trying to well, I didn't really realize I needed to heal at the time. That came many years later, but it's kind of my hindsight looking back, what I wish I would have known, and also what I learned along the way, combined with my knowledge now of how trauma affects people, and just how narcissistic parents parent their children, so that people who are trying to co-parent with someone who's narcissistic can have knowledge of that and know how to support their kids better. So that was what was behind the book, and I'm really excited about it coming out soon.
That's awesome.
So it'll be available on Amazon and paperback and on as an ebook too. Eventually an audiobook. So
awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be your first audiobook.
All right. Awesome. Yay. Yeah.
And I want a real copy, so I'm gonna get the red because
all right.
I have a bunch of books sitting over here.
I'm gonna get the real book because I want Susie to sign it, and I want
to
so.
Write a little something inside the cover. I can do that.
Like in the yearbooks, remember back in the day, all the weird things.
Oh my gosh, I don't think
do you guys still have any of your yearbooks?
I do.
Oh
I just went through a lot of my old stuff, and I think I kept like my senior year one. I got rid of a few, but yeah, I don't think they're as big of a thing anymore.
Probably not as much.
Yeah. But I love them. I love to look back. It's so fun.
Before cell phones, like before all the social media,
Snapchat and all the things. Yeah.
People would give out their phone number and like nobody would ever call. Like, keep in touch. They would write KIT. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was so literal back then. I'm like, really? And then I realized, no, that's just something everybody means in the moment. And then
so funny.
Unless you're really close friends. That was different.
Right. But. Yes. But they didn't need to say keep in touch because obviously
Clearly.
You would.
It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
relatable.
All
Well, I'm
right.
really
So
excited for
as we
you.
wrap up, Susie, any words of wisdom before we wrap up?
I don't know. I thought a little bit about my own journey and what were some key things to keeping me going. And I think the two big things that came to mind were just like we've talked about, having that unshakable, relentless belief in yourself. You have to have that. And if it takes, repeating it to yourself every day or writing it on your mirror or putting post-it notes around to remind yourself you're capable of doing what you want to do, to get where you want to go in life, keep repeating it to yourself. But you've got to have at the core of all this, that belief. And then I think the other piece is just relentless forward motion. Even if you feel like you're making tiny little steps, they're still
Yep.
steps, and they're going to
Right.
get you to where you need to be. If there's some days that I don't feel like doing a whole lot. I'd rather relax and do things, but if I can just check a couple items off my list, I know at least I'm getting closer to the end
Closer.
point.
Yep.
So just try to continue to have that constant forward motion. Those are my 2
I
cents.
love it.
How about you guys?
Yeah. Crystal, how about you?
It's a really good 2 cents. Well, it's funny because I know Warren mentioned talking about ADHD or neurodiversity and like the spin on this side. So I actually wrote down a couple of notes. So I figured I would read those
Yes.
since I wrote it down. I mean, this is for everybody too. But this is especially for anyone with neurodiversity in your back pocket. But me with ADHD, the first thing I wrote down was like, understand your neurodiversity or your ADHD, like learn, empower yourself with your strengths, your weaknesses. And that's for everybody, right? SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, all of that. Like just understanding that so that you can do the things like Susie was talking about, delegating and knowing like what are you better at, what you're weaker at. And it'll help you with the next one, right? Set clear goals. That'll help you set clear goals and just write them down. I know every year for like some years now, I've thought about what did I accomplish last year? What do I want to accomplish this whole year? And I would write down like yearly kind of goals that would stand out. And some of them were probably pretty pathetic with somebody sitting next to me looking good on paper. And some of mine were like, get my driver's license reinstated because of, but it felt so good to check it off, even though it might look like, oh my gosh, this is
It's a big deal.
wild that I'm having to
Yeah.
do this. But it was a lot of money and work and time and effort, even with things that would look negative or that went wrong. And it helped put some forward movement and some positivity into what we would normally beat ourselves up for, right? And be negative. So I even write down goals like that for the year, and like using visual aids I wrote down as another helpful thing, like what you guys are doing here and what Warren does with his Unlock the Day and helping folks with ADHD and like parenting and some of his visual aids. You guys can contact him and check out. Is it unlocktheday.com? Am I saying it right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Check it out. He's got some awesome visual aids and digital products on there. And it's like, that is super helpful with the colors, with the bold, any kind of visual aid for folks with neurodiversity or your children that were, trying to get on point. And that was my next point, was create structure. Even though I hate that, like, I don't want to create structure. I want to be all over the place. But my brain is happier when there's some structure and routine there. And whether it's, your diet, your exercise, like all of that is super important and helps us with the forward movement. And I wrote, find your passion and also seek support. There was more, but I didn't want to keep going on and on. So if somebody's not sure, like I was saying at the beginning, if someone's not sure what their purpose is, what they want their vision to be, what's my passion, I always just encourage people to think, what do you like doing? What do you love doing? What you don't like doing? And then if you're not sure, because you're still getting to know yourself maybe, or you've just been kind of coasting in life, go back to when you were a small child. This is the exercise I did to figure this out. Go back to when you were a small kid. What did you want to be when you grew up? And what did you love doing back then? Because you're the same person that you were back then.
Yeah.
But you just like minus all the, conditioning and brainwashing and get back to when you were running around and playing outside or whatever you were doing. Like, how did you think? How did you feel? What did you love? What did you not love? And then why? So a lot of times people can kind of undo their layers of conditioning from society or family, whatever, to going back there. And that's what really helped me.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Something really great to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you coaching or mentoring people yet? Because if you're not, you should be, because that's some valuable stuff right there, girl.
Thanks. You're really sweet.
It
Call another coach.
is.
I'm gonna tear up.
No, for
Well,
real.
I'm like booking
Stuff
sessions and
people don't
offering
think
it,
about.
but I need to get certified in something like how you did. So I've been looking through those programs and trying to decide,
Mhm.
because I have a bachelor's degree, I did PR, I did
Yeah.
this. I have education, I have lots of great experience, but I know when people want to do coaching, of course they want to see the person's certified in some kind of program.
Yeah.
I haven't had as many sessions because it's more been on
Well,
life and authenticity and like this kind of stuff.
yeah, you've got some really valuable
Yeah.
stuff
You're
to
sweet.
share.
So if anyone does
great
want to email
stuff.
me, I keep giving out the same one, crystalblackpurepodcasting@gmail.com, which is super long, but it's the one I keep going with for now. So I thank you.
Yes.
You're sweet.
Go ahead. Reach out to her.
And Susie, where do they find you?
I'm pretty much everywhere. It's Susie Miller Wendell. So on YouTube, I'm at Susie Miller Wendell, Instagram, Facebook. My website is susiemillerwendell.com. So yeah, if you type that in, you can find me.
Gonna find you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. And my
Great.
email is mycoachsusie1@gmail.com. And
Cool.
again, I don't really get to, I think I've mentioned this, but I mainly work with narcissistic abuse survivors, whether it's from a relationship or somebody's maybe still in it, trying to figure out what they're going to do, or people that were parented by a narcissistic parent, who are now kind of coming to terms with that as an adult and figuring out what they want that relationship to look like and just getting the support they need. So those are the main types of clients I work with. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here. This was
Thank you
awesome.
too, guys.
Yeah,
You're
this was great.
awesome.
We will we'll definitely do it again. And appreciate
And
everyone. We had very good viewership today. So I want to thank everyone
Good.
who
Yay,
was
thanks
here.
for everybody who
Yeah,
joined.
really appreciate it.
What's your email, Warren? We both gave out ours, but they know you're.
Yeah, so I am Warren at unlocktheday.com.
There you
Super
go.
simple. Super
Love it.
simple. Love it that way.
Awesome.
All right, everyone.
Well, you
Thanks
guys
so
have
much.
a good Sunday evening.
You too.
too.
All
Thanks.
right. Talk to
Okay.
y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.